Hi, I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. I am delighted today to present to you the Filigree Frames Frosted Florals. We're going to do a variety of wonderful cards, and I'm glad that you're here to join us. Okay, this is Hunkydory Crafts Filigree Frames Frosted Floral Kit. Hunkydory says this makes 16 cards. Oh, of course we're going to make way more than that. But this is the basic kit, and it does come with some wonderful card designs here. And there's also card designs on the back, so you get a really nice selection of patterns there. And of course, we're going to show you a variety of things that you can do here also. I recommend getting with that. This is the Filigree Frames Frosted Florals inserts and papers. This is a good one to get because not only does it have the insert papers, which you may or may not usually get, it has a wonderful variety of two-sided prints that are going to help you get to the maximum number of cards from your kit. So this is highly recommended that you get this with your kit. In my samples, I'm also going to use the Blossoming Bouquet Luxury Foiled Acetate. This is not one that was sold with the Filigree Frames, but I made a number of cards that use this acetate, and they're just really, really pretty with the Filigree Frames. This is an 8-piece set. You can hear Teddy in the background here as usual. He is not to be ignored. We're going to use gold and silver mirror board from Hunkydory Crafts. I happen to have used Mary pads. Of course, you can get these in a variety of sizes. There's Brittany. Hi, Brittany. And we're going to use, I used some Tattered Lace dies. I used this Spun Sugar Sentiments. And I use these really pretty True Love Verses. We only have a few of these, so if you want this one, don't hesitate. There's only a few in stock. Then we're going to use this really pretty new ribbon we've just brought into the store. This is called Metallic Glitter. Metallic Glitter. This one's the hyacinth color. And we also use the Metallic Glitter Green ribbon that we have in the store. These are really, really pretty, and I think you're going to see that these colors are just really yummy with the kit. I made good use of my Embellishment Attic Bow Maker. These are available in our store, and they really tie beautiful, beautiful ribbons. I made a couple of shaker cards, so we're going to use some of this shaker tape. Of course, I'm going to use my double stick finger lift tape from Hunkydory. I used foam squares to set up a number of my elements. These are some of the shaker elements that I used, and I actually glued on some of these little ice white circles onto one of my cards, and they're really pretty. So these are from Nouveau, the ice white circles, and then I also used the light gold hexagons. I actually believe the hexagons are part of the, is it the classic kit? Golden Years kit, that's it, Brittany. Part of the Golden Years kit that many of you have gotten. I wanted to use another element out of that kit since many of you have actually purchased that 4-piece Golden Years kit. I used my best glue ever to attach all those bows. This is just the stuff to use when you're putting bows on cards. It's wonderful. It dries into a glue dot, and the glue dot actually catches the fibers in that ribbon because it's going on liquid. It actually kind of absorbs into the ribbon and sticks on the card. If you've ever noticed that your bows come off of your cards and they still stick to the paper, but your bow's loose, this is going to take care of that problem. It's a fabulous product from Scrap Perfect. Remember, as always, don't stick those bows down until it actually dries clear. This one has to dry before you put your bows on. No, that sounds counterintuitive, but that's exactly what you need to do. Let it dry to clear before you use it. Of course, I used my little needle nose glue bottle with my Cosmic Shimmer glue. Love that stuff. I used a variety of different kinds of stickles colors, all in the iridescent, clear iridescent tones. We have a variety of really wonderful ones in the store, and a number of these just look great with these cards. And on one card, I actually used these holographic silver happy birthday stickers from hot off the press. I'll give you the item number when I actually send out the supplies list. If you're not already enrolled to get our emails, be sure you do that, because if you do that, every time we print a video, we're going to, you need to just move your camera
Oh,
over
they
there.
can see him.
Oh, okay.
Very tippy top.
Teddy's here, guys. Every time we do a video, I'm going to send you a notice that a video has been posted, and I'm going to send you a supplies list right along with the links to get those products, so that you don't have to look all over for them. You don't have to shop around. I'm going to tell you exactly where to get them, and you can go straight to that source to get the products of interest to you. So these are the materials that we used. Let's get started and look at some samples. Okay, I want to take a quick look through the actual Filigree Frames kit here so that you can see everything you're getting. It's really dynamite what they've put in this one. Here's the little instruction sheet that I told you about, and we have 9 card samples on this side, another card sample on this side, and then they have instructions. Look them over and then disregard the instructions entirely, because by doing our own thing with these, we are going to get a massive number of cards if we use this Filigree Frames kit along with the papers and inserts. So let's set this aside for a minute. Let me show you what you're actually going to get. They give you 8 of these 5x5 folded cards. Now, their intent was that we would create these designs and we'd put them on top of these backgrounds, and then you would have kind of an all-contained kit. And you can certainly do that. But if we take these cards and we cut them in half, each one of these makes a beautiful card by itself. And why would you want to hide half of this on the back of the card? Why not cut these in half? Use your own blank cards and envelopes to make more of them, and in doing so, instead of 8 cards, we're going to have 16 card bases right here, or card faces right here. Now you could just cut out a big beautiful die cut and put in the center of that, put some words with this, a little ribbon, and each one of these is going to be a beautiful card. So you get 2, 4, 6, 8, one's upside down, 10, 12, 14, 16 card faces. There's 2 here. Just trust me on that one. There you go. You get 16 card faces, or 8 folded cards. So I see 16 cards right there. Next up, they give us 5x7s also. They give us 8 of these. And again, why would I want to take this and fold that onto the back of my card and put something over the top of this one? It's absolutely gorgeous. So I've got 2 card faces, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Look at that. Isn't that pretty?
It is.
14, 16, or 8 folded 5x7 cards. So that gives us 32 faces, or 16 cards. They give us 16 envelopes in both sizes. We can still use those, but we can make our own cards using our own blank cards. Now, in addition to that, you get, look at these punched ones first. You get 1 sheet of die cut and frames. Now, what I did with these is I just cut these along these lines, and these frames can be used separately or together with these die cuts. I also wanted to talk to you briefly about this pearlescent finish. I hope that shows on camera. The reason these are called Frosted Florals is because it's done on this beautiful pearlescent paper. In each one of these, you get 4 die-cut images, and then you get all these wonderful sentiments. We got best wishes, happy birthday, special friend, thinking of you, deepest sympathy, and lots of love here in this set. So we have 4, 8, 12, 16 of these die cut images with frames, and all of these wonderful 6 per page of these little messages. So that gives you a total of 24 messages and 16 card bases the die cuts and frames. You also get these printed sheets. Now they're calling these traditional decoupage, and what they mean by that is their intent is that you would take these and you would cut these up and layer them to make individual cards that have card layers. My thoughts about that, guys, is that each and every one of these can be a card base and frame if you want it to, or just a single frame. In fact, the frames that come with the kit go beautifully over these backgrounds. See that? See all the beautiful colors coming through? So these are perfect to use as standalones. So you get 4 to a sheet plus 2 messages. So you have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. You get a total of 8 sheets with 32 images. And you get, 16 more labels here. So there's another 32 card faces. And, as I just showed you, you get these really magnificent lace pieces. And this is what they're calling the filigree. And I want to show you something about these that I find kind of unique. The lasers that they use to make all of this just extreme level of detail, you can see just how close some of these are cut. It would be almost impossible to get this with a die cut. It'd be very, very difficult with either electronic cutting machine or a die cut to get this level of detail. That the lasers they use get hot. And so you can see these have a slightly brown or kind of tea-stained look to them, which I think is perfect for vintage and heritage kinds of cards. Or turn them over and there's Snow White on the other side. So we have a total of 4 frames on that sheet. Here's another hearts, but it has a different pattern. 4 frames on that sheet, so that's a total of 8. 4 frames here. Here's the Snow White side for a total of 12. And 4 here. That's the tea-stained side, so this is the white side. 16 frames. You get all of that in this one kit. So what did we have? We had 32 plus 16 is 38, 48. 48 plus 32. So that's 80. That's 80 card faces and toppers in this one kit. Now they say we're going to get 16 cards. I'm betting you're going to get a whole lot more, especially if you do the kinds of things with them that I did. But that's not all, folks. I feel like a TV host. But there's more. A late night TV host. Infomercial host. Not going to do it, guys. Don't worry. In the inserts and papers pack, at this point you're thinking, why would I possibly need any more? I actually strongly recommend the inserts and papers. The inserts are pretty, but that's not really the reason why I want you to look at the inserts pack. The inserts and papers have these beautiful two-sided images. Now look here. That's actually possibly another card if you want to make it a card. I wouldn't be able to help myself. I'd have to do it, guys. I'd have to. But on the back, we have these beautiful corresponding prints that are in colors that match your kit. So we get these. flip on, I'm just going to flip through here quickly and show you what you're getting with this set. It's amazing what you get. This one. And these background papers I used very liberally in making my cards. It's not expensive, the papers and backgrounds. And like I said, not only can you get more of the, be able to use the background papers, I'd be making cards out of these too, because beautiful imagery on here. Now this one, this could be up to, you could have 2 5x7s out of this, or you could have 4 of the European A6 cards out of this. But how pretty is that? Oops, I didn't show you the back. It's the purple. I love this one. I truly love that. You can see that kind of pretty mottled purple on the, or lavender on the back of that one. This is just so rich and so pretty. There's 2 cards to be made out of that one if you chose to do so. Look at that beautiful card. And on the back we have this pretty pink. So this is really, 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 really pretty stuff. Love this one. Look at that patch of wild roses. Is that gorgeous or what? On the back we got that nice green. The only thing that you're going to have problems with there is deciding which side of that beautiful paper to use. But let your creations guide you through it. So we've already ascertained you could get up to 80 cards. Imagine what happens when you add these into the mix. You're going to be card making for a long time with this, but it's really going to be fun and beautiful. And let's go on now and actually begin to take a look at some of the creations we've made. I'm going to do them by theme so you can see what I've done. Here's my first one. I've taken a 5x7. I have covered it in the back of that beautiful rose field paper, that pretty kind of sage color. I used my rose filigree frame, and you can see I'm just using the frame. And then I used one of the rose punch outs, and I put that on top of my frame. I used a little bit of stickles in here to just tastefully decorate those roses. I don't want to go crazy with the stickles, but I want to just add some really nice highlights to my roses. And I think that's just spectacular. One of those little button phrases. Next up, here's one that I've taken. I took this one from one of those pre-folded cards, and I cut it down to a European A6. I covered my A6 with mirror board, with gold mirror board. I tied my ribbon. I cut this just slightly smaller than my A6, and I wrapped a piece of ribbon around it. I tied myself a bow, just a single bow, out of that beautiful metallic glitter ribbon. And how pretty is that? Here's another one where I have used one of the punch outs. This time I covered my my card in a 5x7. Oh, excuse me, I took a 5x7, I covered it in silver mirror board. Then I took a piece of that pretty green and I just covered the back of my frame so that my silver would still show around the edges. And again, I used my punch out, put it on top, put some glitter accents, tied myself a little bow at the bottom, and I think that's really striking too. Beautiful. Next up, this is one where this time I took a European A6 card and I took one of those decoupage sheets. I cut out my square, I glued that to my European A6 card, and then I just used the punch out frame that's left over from this, and I put it around the outside. And isn't that striking? It's very pretty. One of those little buttons, a little bit of stickles on there just to make those roses really gleam. We have 4 beautiful, very different examples of how to use all the materials in your kit. But there's more. Next up, let's take a look at these pretty little roses in a jar. I think this is gorgeous. This one was fun. Here's the first card that we're going to look at where I've used acetate. I used a white 5x7 card. That's what's in the background. I cut a piece of my acetate in 5x7. I went onto the back of my acetate and I used one of my Hunkydory prism markers to just color in little dots of color on the back of my acetate. And because this is non-porous and those are alcohol markers, it works perfectly to do that. You can do that with any brand of alcohol marker. We sell Prism, but you can use Spectrum Noir, you can use a Sharpie, anything to add some color to these flowers, which I thought was just nice to kind of bring my floral pattern on over onto my acetate. Then I took one of those little frames, I put it over the top of one of those cutout sheets, the decoupage sheets. I added my little label from the bottom of my decoupage sheet, cut it down to fit my space, and I think that's really, really pretty. But I'm kind of using material from all over the kit. Here's another one. This time I've used one of those background sheets where we had the floral pattern and then we had the deep purple above. I used that on the side. This time I have taken one of my frames and I glued my frame down. I took one of the punch outs, I glued it in the middle, I tied myself a pretty bow, and isn't that a pretty thing? I love this card. See how nicely that ribbon matches this kit? Here's another one that's done similarly. As long as I was cutting part of this piece up, I decided to make 2 cards out of it. And this time I've taken that 5x7 card, I've covered it with a piece of that background, that papers and background, and I used one of my decoupage sheets. I put it down, and then I built up my frame. I just took my frame and put some foam squares on the back and made it stand up over that flower. Added little stickles and my metallic glitter bow, and it didn't need any more than that. It's so pretty. This one's really simple, but I thought I should show you that simple's good too. Here is one of my card faces, one of the 5, I don't know if it's a 5x5 or a 5x7 I've cut down, I don't remember. Probably a 5x5 though. And I covered a 5x5 card with it, white card. And then I used one of my decoupage images and I put that on a piece of silver mirror board, added some of the metallic glitter ribbon. I think this could have stood to have a little stickles on it by comparison to the others. This one's a little plain. Maybe a little glitter would be good. But 4 cards in all different ideas using the components of your kit. I hope by now you're getting the idea that you can liberally mix and match your pieces to do all kinds of fun things. Okay, here's a 5x7 card. I've covered it in silver mirror board. I have added a piece of my papers and background. This time I used the roses themselves. Yeah, I used the roses. Actually, this one, a few of these cards were made by my friend Kate. She was here helping me one night, and I think this is actually one that Kate created. So I want to give Kate a shout out. She did a beautiful job on her cards. She used a frame over the top of that background paper. She added a punch out with some tasteful glitter accents, a sparkly bow, and she actually stuck a sticker down here to say happy birthday. I'm not sure which sticker sheet she's using, but I'm just going to say we have lots of sticker sheets available in the store and beautiful selection of silver happy birthdays. So isn't that striking? Really, really pretty. Here's one I just did last night I thought was fun. This time I took a piece of I took a blank A6 card, I covered it in silver mirror board, and then I took a piece of my acetate that was silver, and I laid the acetate over the top, and I hope that doesn't reflect so much that you can't see the pretty detail, but this, where the acetate was silver, ends up looking etched, and it's so pretty. And then I just used one of my toppers and one of my little punch out sentiments and put it up on some foam squares, and I think that turned out really, really pretty. I hope it comes out on camera okay. Next up, really simple but beautiful. Okay, I took the frame that was with that punch out and I framed over the top of one of those decoupage sheets, added a button, added a bow. I had covered my card in a piece of my papers and backgrounds, and it's all on a 5x7 card. Again, I did not glitter this one. You can see the difference that the little touches of glitter make. Might go back and do that because the little touches of glitter really add a lot. And while I've got this up, let me show you that this is kind of the traditional use of those, the kit, I believe, although I have a 5x7 card. I've covered it in that background paper. I've used a frame, one of the frames and that comes off of the punch outs, and I just realized I actually did not use their punch out. I cut out the design of one of the decoupage sheets and I put that down for my center. You can see that you can do that just as effectively. The only thing you lose is the foiling around that. And here's my pretty little metallic glitter bow under there. Look at those pretty bows you can tie with the bow maker. It's just perfect every time. Really pretty. Next up, we have this beautiful, I love this pattern with the roses in the foreground and that vase of flowers in the background. It's just so pretty. This time I've taken one of my decoupage sheets. I put my frame up on some foam squares. I have my metallic glitter ribbon here in the foreground, and I just don't think it gets any prettier than that. I did add a little bit of stickles. And you can see you can stickle on your decoupage sheets just as easily as you can on the others. I do recommend you go pretty light with the stickles because this lighter weight background paper, unlike the heavier weight actual punch outs, this lighter weight paper will ripple just a little bit with the added moisture of the stickles. So you have to go pretty light on that. But it still works out beautifully. Here's another one. And again, this time I'm just taking a piece of my background paper. No, I'm not. This one, I believe that Kate has changed the background color here using her gilding polish. I didn't even realize she did one of those, but I'm pretty sure that's what I'm seeing here. She's used purple gilding polish to change the color of that card. Isn't that beautiful? And she used that happy birthday sticker across the bottom. And one thing she did here that I think is really, really fun, she put mirror board directly behind her frame. Look at that beautiful finish that you get putting the mirror board directly behind the frame. And then she's put some stickles on the topper there. And here's our glitter ribbon. Beautiful. Nice job, Kate. Here's another one that I just did last night that I also thought was a lot of fun. We've seen this technique before. I just did it with a different pattern this time. I took an A6 card, I covered it in mirror board, and then I've put my my printed acetate sheet of beautiful roses right over the top of that. So I've got the gold etching on the acetate over the background of that mirror board, and I think it's just stunning. I put my topper directly on there, put my little button up on some foam squares, added a little bit of stickles, and they just don't get prettier than that. You really get an etched kind of look in your card using that acetate over the mirror board. You love shaker cards, so I had to make you a shaker. Here's a shaker card using the roses in the background. And this time I'm taking a frame and I've run some foam tape or foam squares around behind. What I grabbed was actually a 1mm tape that was a 1/2 inch wide, but these particular frames at least, were wide enough to accommodate, so I put a double layer of my foam squares underneath here. So I'm building to 2mm. I used these ice white crystals, which I thought was particularly effective with the white roses, and that's just really pretty together. Some of the acetate sheets are blank on one side and then they have all the pattern on the other, so you have plenty of windows available by using the acetate set as well. This is one of the card blanks one of the 5x7s. I've cut it down just a little bit so it would fit inside of, on top of my 5x7 card, which I've covered with gold mirror board. I added that pre-cut, or the folded card, which I've cut down. And then I've added this from the Valentine's set, or the Love Verses, I think it's called. Have I told you lately that I love you? I think that's pretty. And then a little bit of glitter around, or stickles, or you could use your iridescent glitter and your extra high, or your iridescent, iridescent extra high quality glitter and a glue pen to get this same effect. My pretty little ribbon, and again, what a perfect Valentine. Here we go. Next one. This time I have covered my background with a piece out of my Papers and Backgrounds. I used a darker frame, one of the frame pieces behind there, that where you've taken the punch out of the center. I put my lace over the top of that. And again, this is a cutout of one of the decoupage sheets. Added my glitter, or my glittery bow, and again, I think this maybe could benefit from some stickles, but isn't that beautiful? Next one up, here's another one of those card bases. Actually, it's not. This is a piece out of my Papers and Inserts, and it's one of those double-sided papers. I've covered my 5x7 card, and here I have created a shaker card. Once again, using my frame, backing it with acetate. This time I did use foam tape around my heart, our shaker tape. I put in those gold little dots, and that's just really pretty. I love the movement in there, and the gold looks so pretty with the gold frame. Extra little bit of stickles here and there, and I used one of those greetings off of the decoupage sheets at the bottom here. And finally, here's one where I have taken one of my background sheets and I covered a 5x7 card. Then I took I had a fun little piece of paper that was just about this wide that had this beautiful pattern on it. So I cut it down to just a little over an inch so I could catch the pretty flowers. I backed that with a piece of mirror board so that you could just really make that look like a finished piece. And then I put my frame up here. I put my punch out up here on some foam squares. I put my sentiment on some foam squares. And then I took little tiny rhinestones and I just kind of placed them around. There's little dots on here. There happens to be one right there that I didn't cover. See those little tiny dots? That dot right there is where I put my rhinestones, and isn't that a pretty thing when it's done? Okay, we're almost done here, guys. We've got just a couple more varieties to go. Okay, my 5x7 card. I've taken one of my decoupage images. I've backed it with some silver mirror board. I put my flat sentiment off of the decoupage directly onto the card. It's hard to put these on foam squares unless you put them on cardstock first because it's printed paper rather than card. And put my pretty bow on it, and I just didn't think it needed more than that. Certainly could benefit from just an outline of some stickles, but very, very pretty. Next up, here's one of my A6 cards. These will fit almost perfectly on an A6. You trim just the outside stitching off and it'll fit on an A6. We've used a piece of pattern paper behind that out of our Papers and Inserts. We add one of the little elements off of our punch out sheet. Here's a punch out, a little bit of stickles and our pretty bow. But isn't that pretty? So simple and yet so pretty. I'm telling you guys, these cards almost make themselves. Here's another one where I've taken an A6. We cut it down, it appears, just a little bit. And we have put the frame up on some foam squares. This is all over one of those decoupage images. Here's one of our little button phrases, glittery bow, and a little bit of stickles. I don't think you had to cut that one down. I think maybe I cut it down because I got something crooked. It's possible that I did that. Okay, here's another one. This is a sympathy card, and we're covering our background with that pretty backside of those papers and inserts. We put down our frame. We've added one of the punch outs, a little bit of stickles with sympathy, pretty bow at the top. Doesn't get any prettier than that, guys. How elegant is that? Here's another one where we're using the love phrases. We've taken a 5x7 card. We've covered it with a piece of the papers and inserts. This is one of the images off the papers and inserts. I die cut the True Love Stories Never End. Put myself a pretty bow underneath there. And that really gives you a great example of how you can use those papers and insert images to make a standalone card. Just use something big and pretty here. You could put any number of different kinds of die cuts here or phrases here, but it's beautiful. Here you get a feel for what those calla lilies look like if you just outline just the very edges, and that's so pretty. Okay. Here is a card done now this is one of those 5x5 cards. I've taken a 5x5 card. I have cut this down just a little bit so that my gold on the edges will show with my gold mirror board behind it. I've used one of my decoupage images in the center. I've put some foam squares under that. Now this one's going to be a little bit more delicate, and you can see it would have been better perhaps if I taped or glued this down to some cardstock and cut the whole thing out. I just cut it out and I put it on foam squares. It's going to be okay, but if you look from the side you can see a little bit of rippling you wouldn't see if it were actually on cardstock. So just a thought there when you're using lighter weight paper rather than the heavy duty Hunkydory cardstock. A little bit of glitter on my flowers in the two corners. And again, this one is constructed using one of those card bases, that they sent, one of the cut apart ones. Okay, here's a 5x5 card that's done using a pretty piece out of that papers and inserts pack. I put down one of my decoupage images. I put this up on some foam squares. I added some rhinestones here in the corner just because I thought these iridescent rhinestones with the iridescence of the glitter looked really pretty. Lots of love, and I think this would be a perfect card. It could be for Valentine's, it could be to a special friend, it could be to somebody you're thinking about. This could be on any kind of occasion, really. Okay. Here's another one done using the papers and inserts background. Here's a frame over one of our frames with punch outs. Here's the punch out on top. I did put this one up on some foam squares, and then I put because this was already on foam squares, I put 2 layers of foam squares under here, and just to hold that level. You'll see that I took some of these little jewels and I glued them right onto my frame just to create another item of interest. This time I put them in the swirls of the frame. And I think that's about as pretty as it comes, just to show you that the inserts look beautiful inside. When you do that, it really gives your cards a finished look. So as long as you're going to have the inserts, let's go ahead and put them in the cards and make them beautiful. Here's another one that Kate did that I thought was just spectacular. This time she's taken a piece out of the papers and inserts pack. She has covered her card, covered over that with a piece of acetate in this beautiful corner treatment. She's put happy birthday on top of the acetate, and she has taped her punch out heart to the top with a little bit of stickles. And then she created this border using a piece of iridescent mirror board and just a little strip of leftover paper to just really pull that whole thing together. Isn't that gorgeous? Kate really did a spectacular job on her card creations, and I thank her for her help. We have 2 sets left, guys. Here's another one that I've done using one of the papers and inserts, one of the floral images off of that. This time I used the what are those called? These are called the sponge sugar sentiments, with the little coils going everywhere over and under the lettering. Those little coils really help make these words bigger, and that's really nice when you're trying to fill a larger area like this. This time I have taken my I'm going to say Spectrum Noir, but it wasn't, the Prism marker from Hunkydory. I used the pink set, and I used the brightest pink, the most vivid pink, to do my covering over. If you're wanting to look at that, there's actually 14 sets of the Prism markers, but I used the pinks, and I think that's really pretty. What a simple card, but it's really an effective treatment. Here's another one of those, covering my 5x7 card with a piece of silver mirror board. I've cut down my papers and inserts paper to fit within that 5x7, and then I'm putting my frame directly on there, and on behind this one I'm putting in my foam squares, a little bit of stickles. Before I put this down on my silver, I ran a piece of this sparkly ribbon around and secured it in the back, and then I glued my bow on top using my best glue ever. Okay, next up, here's one that I did what Kate did in her earlier one. Here's a 5x7 card that I've cut down a little bit. You can always do that. You can make your cards, your card blanks, any size you want. I had a little more space than I liked, so I just made it a little bit shorter card, and I'll still use the 5x7 envelope. But this time, I've covered it with a piece out of my papers and backgrounds. I've put my label down on it. This time I've taken a piece of silver mirror board, and I've put it behind my frame, cut that out so that it matches, and then I've put my topper on some foam squares in the center. And this one, I'm using a piece out of my papers and backgrounds, kind of a really subdued pattern. And this time, that actually is one of my card bases. I use that really faded card base, and then I put this image on top of it. Now, this is one of my decoupage images and frames, and I just wanted to show you I don't have to use the frame the size they gave it to me. I actually trimmed this frame down a little bit to let these corner flowers show, because I thought that was pretty, and my glittery ribbon in the corner. I have one last set to show you, and that is all cards that were done using the backgrounds and the card bases. Here's one I'm using the True Love Verses. Here's one of my 5x7 cards. I've cut it down to be able to fit on top of a 5x7 card covered with gold mirror board, and this one says, "I love you from the bottom of my heart to the tips of my toes." And a little bit of stickles on there. I think that is a beautiful thing. I love that. Here's one where I've just used a piece of background paper and kind of treated it like a package. Before I put my background paper down to my card, I ran a ribbon diagonally across it. And then for you, those of you who have watched my bow making videos, I tied a triple bow in my metallic glitter ribbon, and I glued that on top. I'm not going to do anything else today. I certainly could put a sticker of greeting or another greeting up here if I wanted to, but I'm kind of leaving it neutral for now, and I'll use it for whatever I want later. But I thought that turned out really pretty. And this is just using the background paper, guys. That's the only piece I'm using. But imagine what you can do with all those background papers and images just creating those cards. And since this is on a 4x6, and this sheet here with the roses was actually an A4, I could get 4 cards just like this out of one sheet of background paper. Here's another one out of using one of those card bases. And I love the rose patterns coming up and down into this. So I've cut that card base down. I'm using my own white card, covered it with gold mirror board. I trimmed that base, their card, cut in half. And then I trimmed it down just a little bit to fit and let my mirror board show. I put a thank you in, a little bit of stickles. Pretty. And here's another one. I wanted to show you one where the pattern is all on one side. I certainly could have made a smaller card and gone the other way. This time I just chose to use a big phrase at the top. I could have used any of those love verses, or I can use these that allow me to kind of space my words out a little bit with the pretty curly cues on them. So a 5x7 card. I've got the papers and insert the card cut down. I've got my little bow and my stickles, and that's it. It's finished. So I don't know how many cards I've done here. It must be 35, 36, somewhere in that area. And I want to show you one more thing. Let's take a look at what I've got left, because it's pretty amazing. I had the papers and inserts pack, and I want to show you everything I had left after making all of those cards I just showed you. Now remember, I used the papers and inserts, and I used the floral acetate. Out of my 8 sheets of acetate, I still have several really nice pieces I can use on other projects. You can see all the little button greetings running around in there that I had left. I have lots of... I haven't finished doing my inserts yet. I need to do those before I take my cards from here, but I've got my inserts still to go in. I've got 3 of my frames left. I have all of these greetings left. There's another one of those button greetings. I have, I don't know, 10 or 12 of those greetings. I have, here's one of my decoupage images, a nice strip that might be good for something. Look at all these. This is all the leftovers after doing 30-some cards, guys. So imagine what I can still do with all of this. Just look at all this. It's amazing. I've got all these. I still have 2 cards here, 1 card here, 1 card here, 1 card here, 1 here, 2 here, 2 here, another 1 here. I've got 4 cards here, 2, and 2, and 2, and 2. Are you getting the idea that there's still a lot of potential in this kit? Excuse me, I used this one as a shim when I was die cutting because I was desperate for a piece of paper. So, oops, that would have been good if I hadn't done that, but I had to explain the dents all over it. And look at this beautiful piece. These beautiful pieces left. Easily layer these up on something. Look at this. Here's a button. Here's another beautiful card in this. I love this damask pattern in the back of that. So pretty. Here's another one. And you know I've got these beautiful pearl papers on the back. And then I still got all this. I've got all these sheets left. 2. Look at those. Those are just perfect. And again, we talked about this earlier. That could be 4 cards right there. There's another card there and some beautiful material in the back and some absolutely gorgeous background paper. Okay, and I have background papers left, so it's pretty amazing, guys, that what you can get out of a single pack of these plus the papers and inserts. It's remarkable what you can do. And again, don't toss out those smaller pieces or these cards. Certainly beautiful, beautiful potential in cutting these things down and making more. Remember, Hunkydory said we were going to get 16 cards. I just showed you 30-some beautiful designs, and I have a remarkable amount of material left to make more. So I think you are going to be really, really happy with the Hunkydory Filigree Frames Frosted Florals. If you enjoy this video and you want to see more, please give me the thumbs up. That's my attaboy that you like what you're seeing. And if you haven't already subscribed to our newsletter, please be sure and do that so that I can send you the supplies list and links and make your shopping really easy and painless. I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts, and we'll see you next time.